Thank you, everyone. First of all, thank you for Economics Time for organizing this wonderful session, fourth edition, and giving me a humongous Herculean task of managing a brief panel, I would say, which got shortened by 3 more people. So I was absolutely about to ask that maybe somebody would be sitting on the dais or outside. But definitely looking at the subject that I'm going to hold for this evening, I'm sure it's going to be very enriching. After listening to Dr. Solanki, it's like putting the whole energy and adrenaline back into the dais with this whole fabulous dais dignitaries who are going to talk about a very important topic of how renewable energy deployment can be fast-tracked and securing the supply chain. Because when you look from an overall renewable perspective, we do a lot of consulting work. So obviously, being a consultant from 22 years, looking into the way I was starting to talk about oil and gas in my initial life, being a chemical engineer, always stick to the roots of what I have done in my life. Now, when I do the transition side of it, looks how important that subject has moved from what we saw as an important perspective that we have to build through, where all governments, all local countries, their regions, their corporates, and even the citizens today are becoming conscious. And there are a lot of perspectives that we can talk about. But the way, given that this is an important subject, we have a very enriching panel. I've broken down into the 4 segments which we're going to use to have this discussion. One segment is looking from the downstream of the value chain, where we have the RE developers who are generating the renewable power. And again, the theme is the right energy. I'm going to use that going forward. The right energy developers and generators. So we have both mix of private and public players sitting on the dais with me, which we're going to talk about what are some of the things that they can fast track and accelerate the overall renewable development, and then how the opportunity can be converted into an accelerated mechanism through the challenges they are facing on the supply chain. The second element that I'm going to discuss is this cannot be deployed to the end consumers if there is no grid, there is no supply chain, there is no accessibility. So there are 2 sets of players again in the overall aspects of the whole infrastructure that needs to be provided. The third set is the players who are going to provide the services to these developers and the infrastructure providers. We call it as EPC, the engineering, procurement, and construction players. And then finally, we will be looking into the whole manufacturing ecosystem, because when we are talking about supply chain or the value chain, these are the 4 different segments. So without getting into further ado, we all know from morning we are listening that this is the right energy. We have to look it into the right place and right time. The time has come now. There is nothing left to think about. A lot of the players have built or made a lot of commitments towards accelerating the renewable energy. We have seen in this year's 2 budget, interim and the final budget. The first thing that comes into the mind is, to accelerate this thing, we need funding. So I would like to ask Pradip, in terms of IREDA's quite important responsibility to provide funding, and you have been at the forefront of it. What are the key 2 things that you think would be important to accelerate from an perspective of one government and from the developers to provide the funding? For example, we have talked about in this budget about green taxonomy, right? How important is green taxonomy for us to build the whole funding ecosystems, growth, and also the policies and interventions that are needed to accelerate the overall process?
Yeah, thank you, and thanks Economic Times and Sudhirji for inviting me. You might be sensing a bit of tiredness. Just a couple of days back, we had International Green Hydrogen Conference. That was again a 3 days activity. After 3 days, again RE Invest 4, again a 3 days activity, and again coming here. It is becoming like profile as a speaker. I will be continuing when I leave IREDA. So it's not in lighter sense, it's serious note. I'm here in IREDA since 4 years, and since 37 years, IREDA is doing renewable energy financing. And renewable energy being talked upon in a large scale in last 10 years with the new government coming in center. And since then, it is running in a jet speed. If you talk about solar, I agree with Professor Solanki. We do not have literacy, but without having literacy, we have grown 33 times in solar space in last 10 years. If we'll have fair amount of literacy, probably would have grown much better and more effectively. Our output have been better. See, my suggestion would be, before getting into this question, and since Professor Solanki was talking so passionately and he's living a life of, I think today it's called Solar Man of India, and completely devoting the time, leaving the family and all. See, why you will not have a energy chapter in the basic school and curriculums, like fundamental to education, when we know that resource is finite and our need is infinite, and we do not know how to define our need. And when our need is fulfilled, then you get trapped in the greed. So you need to define the need and manage the greed. That is the basic fundamental in RE financing also. See, 10 years back, no lender was there coming forward to lend, except IREDA. Right or wrong, knowledge or no knowledge, we went on doing and we did it. As on date also, despite 10 years others coming into play, we are still considered to be the pure play largest green lender in the country. And the way we have grown in last 4 years, considering the 2 years of peak COVID, we have grown best during that period and also doing better than that in the subsequent period. We'll continue to do better than that also. The knowing that when the government has committed 500 gigawatt target and we have just completed 200, I'm talking of only RE. Out of that 500, only RE is 485. So another 285 we have to add. 30 lakhs crores of investment will require. You are talking of lender. If you see total IREDA's business of 37 years, 90% business we have done in last 10 years. So 27 years, 10% business, 10 years, 90% business. And out of that 10 years, 4 years, 70% business. And you all know what happened to IREDA. 10 years back, government change and center, policy change. A complete different kind of ecosystem is in place. Policymaker, regulator and lender. Three are working in tandem. Had this not happened, probably solar would not have happened. SECI came into play, Solar Energy Corporation. Time has come, they are going to become Sustainable Energy Corporation. They have shifted from solar to all others also. Once, why it came into play? Because there was a demand aggregation requirement and payment security mechanism is to be there. Otherwise, it cannot get that speed, what speed it took. Now, we are now shifting from electron-based to molecule-based. Long-term contract versus short-term contract. Then the question comes lending. And your point, the lending challenges is going to be there. Any lender will have hesitation when the industry in a nascent stage. Nobody likes to come forward. When the industry will be a visible maturity, then everybody will come forward. Like if you look at our loan book profile, 10 years back we were sole lender. Now our loan book 58%, there is a cutthroat competition, which is plain vanilla RE, solar, wind and hydro. That means n number of lenders are there. But when you look into emerging RE, ethanol, and our previous speaker, Jensel was talking here, when they were coming into EV space, nobody was lending them, including IREDA. You take any major lender in the country, they refused. We came forward. That became a super hit now. So IREDA has proven how to make unbankable sector bankable, how to handle the emerging space. We have already done our total portfolio, around 20% is in emerging RE. Completely challenging, be it compressed biogas, ethanol, e-mobility. Now we have gone for storage, we have gone for green hydrogen. That is in a very nascent stage. As a lender, what the problem will be, whenever we lend, we look into the promoter's rating and the project's rating. We will not be having, neither we, no lender will be having a rating model in the emerging space. How they are going to do the rating? If there is no rating, what practice they follow? Grade 5. A promoter having grade 1 category, as because the lender is not having a rating model, the project will be assigned grade 5. Whatever qualitative corporate governance they may ensure, because of this, they will not get. And when you go for letting model, particularly in a government NBFC, I can say that anything new, anything you are doing, if it is old, precedent is there, precedent becomes a rule. That becomes a guiding factor. If there is no precedent, there is nothing. And IREDA has been doing in this space, having no precedent since 37 years. And we have that competency and capability. In last 37 years, we have sanctioned more than 2 lakh crore, financed more than 1,31,000 crore. Loan book is roughly around 63,000 crore plus. Our net NPA is 0.95 of June, and we are going to continue to reduce. Our net NPA in 4 years back was 7.12. Why this 7.12? If you look at true renewable, that is small hydro and bioenergy, where now large hydro has been defined as renewable since November 2019 onwards. Prior to that, small hydro. So whatever we lended in those space, mostly majority of that went bad. And same bioenergy space, we are lending now ethanol and CPG. We have taken care well those learnings what we have captured there. And that we have brought into our appraisal model. Now coming back to this green hydrogen and others, I think two, three things are there. Offshore wind, pump storage, green hydrogen. These are the two new emerging and challenging area where the developer is going to struggle to get a lending from any lender. And the lender will be struggling to lend them also. Particularly pains a lot when you have an established promoter, having good track record, but since the sector is emerging, everything is uncertain, you cannot pass on that kind of benefit to them. And you will be loading the entire risk premium as per the RBI guideline. According to the risk, you have to load the risk premium. So, unless we go for that level of maturity from the infancy stage, till such time we will take a calculated risk, we have to mitigate those risks. To mitigate those risks, why this green taxonomy? IREDA is working in pure green since 37 years without any specific benefit for green financing. I'll not take name. There are many companies, they get 54 EC capital gain benefit. We do not have. I have been requesting since about 4 years Government of India for this. I came to know that is in advanced stage now, we are going to get. So as a lender, in the initial stage, if we can reduce the borrowing cost, then the developer will come forward. Otherwise, the project is not going to become bankable. We have resorted 3-4 efforts. One, this is 54 EC. Two, we have opened a GIFT City office because today when we are borrowing from overseas, the hedging cost is becoming the major one. So around 300 to 350 bps we are going to save there. And if we pass on at least 70% to them, debt equity, 30% equity, 70% debt. So 70% of the benefit if we pass on to them, at least 2.5, the rate is going to go down. And today, we do not have a defined green taxonomy. We have submitted draft paper to our ministry almost around 2 years back. And that is again in advanced stage. Finance Ministry is dealing it. And we are hopeful that very soon it will be going to come out. Today I read in the newspaper, probably in the RBI also it has been discussed. So government as well as the regulator, they have to work in tandem. And last point I will tell, whoever want to come forward and be partner in this 500 gigawatt achievement by 2030 or by 2047 50-50 or 2070 net zero, they have to maintain a DAS principle. Discipline by the developers. And clear and perfect and positive attitude by the lender. So A for attitude. S, simplicity of the regulation, be it government, be it RBI or any other regulator. These 3 or 4 agencies constitutes the ecosystem. 10 years we have seen this principle has been worked well. At this DAS principle, actually in short it appears to be Das principle, people get mistaken Pradip Das principle. It is not like that. So DAS principle is to be followed. And it has a lot of linkage with what Mr. Solak was talking, that you have to be literate. If you are a developer partnering 500 gigawatt, why you have to be disciplined? But the sector is challenging, it is emerging, very dynamic. You have to be very transparent in your approach when you approach to a lender. And the lender have to be very proactive and clear with you, and they have to act on time, because suppose most of the component today are imported, and if your lender is not supporting you in time, your import commitment is going to be failed, and your project is going to be a good project can become a bad project immediately. And the policy maker and regulator, if they will not have clarity and will be struggling for getting clarification on that, certainly the sector is not going to work on it. I'll take a pause here. I think I've taken enough time.
No, perfect. We have a broad panel, so I have to be conscious of each other's time. But it was a very elaborate point of views that have been brought. I just put it on the key bullets. Unbankable things became bankable with IREDA from the 37 years, which brought in the very short point of time. A very beautiful approach of DSA was brought, where I'll start with the first point on the discipline that has to be brought by generators. So, Sarit, on to you. From an conventional business of, thermal, now getting in the whole renewable with a tall task of fulfilling 500 gigawatts. And we just heard that the amount of funding that is available is not going to be a challenge. Now, there is a plan that you have laid down 70 gigawatts of renewable. There are new opportunities, technologies coming. What ways can you accelerate or think you will be able to achieve the tall task that you have been built by yourself?
Thank you, Kapil. To keep my answers brief on this subject, let me tell you that we carry a pedigree of NTPC. So when NTPC Renewable was set up, it imbibes in itself the basic strength of NTPC, which are two. One is the financial strength that we carry, and second is the project management skill that we carry. We have proven ourselves on the thermal front. We are 76,000 plus company over there. And now onto the renewables also, we intend to do the same. I'm happy to inform that we are around 3.8 gigawatt up and running. Another 11 gigawatt contracts are in place, and another 10 gigawatt in pipeline. So that makes it in the imminent future, that is by 2027, we are thinking about 20-25 gigawatt. And as you rightly said, by 2032, we intend to be 60 gigawatt renewable company. This would fairly make a mix of our thermal portfolio along with the renewable portfolio in the vicinity of 40 to 60. So this is something to give you an idea of what our vision is, what we are trying for. Coming on to the second part, how are we going to do that? There are two things, as I said. One is that we need to have the projects in hand. For that, we are again moving into threefold strategy. One is that we are creating our own land bank. Land is the most important asset in this, I can tell you. And we are well aware of it. We are creating our own land bank, number one. We are participating very prudently in the tariff-based competitive bidding, which is on the trajectory of Government of India, amply supported by the various REIAs. And I'm happy to tell you here also that wherever we participate in the tariff-based bidding, the hall will agree that we get a very competitive price there. Third, we are actively into participation with state companies who carry with them good potential of land. So these are the three ways wherein we are trying to hold the portfolio. Kapil, we have a very strong engineering team, a very strong contracting team with us. And I can say down the line, we have for each individual projects, we have the head of the projects identified for each of the projects. We are in close proximity with our suppliers, with our various stakeholders. We know, as Das sir just said, that finance is an integral part of bringing any project in time. We ensure that our stakeholders are paid in time. We plan our things properly. We monitor it very closely. And the best thing is that now we're trying to bring them up also in time. On the last thing that I'll say, that we are very much aware of the technological changes that come in this sector. This is a very evolving sector, and every day we started with the monoperk modules. Now the bifacial tracker, we just listen, and every technology NTPC has imbibed in one of its projects. We are very conscious about the environmental front also. We have now brought in robotic cleaning coming up in most of our power stations so that we reduce the consumption of water for the module cleaning and all. and I can promise that we'll continue to do the good work. Thanks, Kapil.
Thanks, Sarit. So quite enriching to talk about that, how from an, a great pedigree, the foundation has been laid at NTPC to move from a thermal to a mixed bag, growth in an accelerated manner, and having a great, knowledge base in the skill set that is driving it through. The important point that you talked about in technology, and that's why slightly I'm changing the format. I'm moving to Naveen from a BrightNight perspective, because you're on the kid in the block, bringing a very, hybrid kind of systems on the ground. So, one side we have seen funding is there, what Pradip said, there is a pedigree of things that have been brought by NTPC towards the renewable side of acceleration. How do you see yourself playing in this whole part of 500 gigawatts? What's your role? The whole hybrid technologies is becoming an important element from round the clock basis or FDRE basis. What is the role that BrightNight is playing in terms of ensuring that industries can adopt, because the intimacies has been always a challenge? So over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Kapil. Yeah, so I think I'll start with maybe again Professor Solanki's point, right energy versus energy. And I think one is right energy, which is our motto from the day one. We are not after either solar energy or wind energy, but what is the right energy? And in fact, we have gone one level further, which is right power, because energy is incremental electrons, which you can inject into the grid by doing plain solar also. The question is twofold. One, can you add dispatchability, which basically is reversal of intermittency? Can you assure that? And second is how effectively or efficiently you do that. So hybrid projects is just starting point, but I think journey is just starting when we talk about renewable power, which is available as and when you need it, which requires combining all the technologies together. And on top of that, additional layer is efficiency. And efficiency of the system design starts from land efficiency, evacuation efficiency, system design efficiency, and overall effective systemic cost of supplying that fossil-free power to the grid, which is whether right energy or right power is the focus. So BrightNight, going to BrightNight's roots, BrightNight is a US headquartered global renewable IPP. We focus on multi-tech projects, having innovative solutions, and more often than not, storage integration, so that we can actually supply what particular off-taker or customer needs, not just produce what we can. So we want to deliver the solutions which enable corporates, conglomerates, and utilities alike go on the decarbonization journey or energy transition journey in a much faster and deeper manner. So that's what BrightNight's focus is. Now, a couple of more aspects is integration. This is a company which focuses a lot on design, engineering, and all other aspects, not just cheapest procurement and cheapest financing. Because yes, bankability has to be kept in mind, but what is equally important is what is the net impact of your own projects on the overall resource ecosystem. So that is at the core of all our projects. Hybrid and FDRE is what we are currently doing, but we see ourselves going to the next level where each of our project will have meaningful impact on the decarbonization journey. So to your point, how are we planning to contribute? We are planning to contribute by doing FDRE projects, but FDRE is a very broad term, right? You can have multiple variations within FDRE. So idea would be to focus on projects which have this resource efficiency at its core and fossil free or lowest possible carbon footprint kind of energy is the focus for the time being for the BrightNight. Yeah.
Thanks, Naveen. Just to keep on the continuation of the whole set of the value chain, I move to Inder. In terms of what we heard from the public sector and one of the private sector, you also are in the same generation field, and you also bring the global knowledge to the India. What is that you see, a key differentiator, I would say, to accelerate the same way that you have done globally into the Indian context, and what are the key imperatives from your side that can accelerate the renewable power adoption from your company, Envision?
Yeah, thank you, Kapil, for the question. Um, I think the way I'll put this across is that the Indian grid is amongst the largest in the world. So our challenges are of the equal magnitude. So while it's a no-brainer that we need to get more and more clean energy sources, supplying power in the grid, and all of us are aware of the kind of challenges that the intermittency of these sources bring to the grid, and I think the grid stability is getting more and more critical. So I think what's important is that we need to go beyond although it's a non-conventional source of energy, but there is, in a lot of it, there is conventionality in terms of the technology which has been used for the past 2 or 3 decades. I think now's the time that we need to bring in more intelligence into the equipment. We, as a company, we are trying to focus on machine learning, on and also digital twinning. And what this does is that this increases the accuracy of performance prediction going forward, and also improves the condition monitoring of the power generation equipment. So just to give you an instance, because I don't want these to just be sounding as fancy words, but I think how we're trying to translate this into reality is that in a turbine, be it ours or somebody else's, be it new or be it existing in operation for a while, you can bring in more intelligence. When I say digital twinning, basically what you do is, besides the existing sensors for vibration and temperature, you have a new set of sensors which measure displacement. So the combined data then gets into an algorithm, and then that produces a digital twin, which then improves this the prediction of the performance or failure of the turbine, and that sort of gives you an opportunity to improve the performance of the turbine, and hence increase the predictability, and hence also help the grid perform better. So that's one is on the maintenance perspective. It can also improve performance, because while the technology in the wind side is getting more and more advanced, you have dynamic pitching which gets into the rotors, and what it means is that pitching is done not only at a preset condition for wind speeds, but also every revolution of a turbine, the pitch angle changes. And what we do with using this AI is basically that every turbine we think is a very critical element of power generation, because we are going to bring in a 5 megawatt turbine, which is reasonably large in size. So even the wind shear varies from a turbine to one location to the other. And by having these specific measurements and converting that into a digital twinning aspect, you can then fine-tune the dynamic pitching even further to every turbine onwards. So I think the intelligence goes into a turbine level, a wind farm level, and then through cloud, through a much larger set of generation assets. And this can be applied not just to wind. There are features available for solar, and there are other, we also have solutions which can sort of improve the synergy between multiple applications. And in fact, what we also bring to the table, we are also getting into, we already got into manufacturing of equipment for producing green gases, be it hydrogen or ammonia. And what we think is even more important than just to produce another advanced equipment, because this electrolyzers and synthesizers are nothing new. They've been around for decades, but they're getting more and more smart. And I think what's more important is how you balance, and especially if it's co-located generation come production of gases, how you align the varying nature of the generation with the fuel guzzling aspect of these, the gas producing equipment is very, very critical. So we have NOS as our brand of, operating solutions platform, which is the IoT based, and it can actually synergize the two aspects so well that we have a term called dancing with the wind. And I think in the Asia and Africa markets, you have the opportunity and the land and the to do this co-located production of gases. If we can bring that in India, and I'm sure in certain pockets there is a possibility to do that, you can actually keep the grid independent of this and yet create something which is completely green. So I think that's where the industry is headed, and that's where we as a company are trying to add value.
Lovely. Thanks for bringing that in there, because grid is one of the important factor, and that brings me to a very important discussion with I was having with Simarpreet before the panel, that infrastructure plays a very important role, and not just the hardware, services plays an important role, and you are, committing towards a 10 gigawatts of services that you're going to provide, which is a tall task. So to achieve that, what are the things that you are working towards to make sure that, when we are looking for at gigawatt level, your company will bring the differentiations in the Indian scenario, and obviously coming from, northern part of India where you don't see the ecosystem existence.
नमस्कार वंस अगेन. मुझे कह रहे थे वो ब्रेव चैट थी फायर साइड. आई थिंक ब्रेव तो प्रोफेसर सोलंकी हैं जो अपना घर छोड़ के एक एनर्जी यात्रा कर रहे हैं. सो आई थिंक मेरी फायर साइड चैट सुबह ब्रेव नहीं थी. आई थिंक इट इज पीपल लाइक देम व्हिच आर गिविंग अस मोटिवेशन. देखिए मैं ना दास साहब को ही कोट करूंगा. आज अगर हम हटेक की बात करते हैं, मैंने शुरू में इन द स्टार्टिंग आल्सो आई सेड आई थिंक वी आर अमंग द वेरी फ्यू कंपनीज इन इंडिया व्हिच इज बिल्डिंग अ 765 kV grid, to building a 400 megawatt solar plant, to building a 10 megawatt rooftop for a industry, जो हम बोलते हैं इंडस्ट्री डीकार्बनाइजेशन में सबसे ज्यादा है. मैं आप चैलेंज की बात करते हैं, मुझे लगता है जो DAS का जो दास है ना, उसका मैं पहला अक्षर लूंगा, उसका है D. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि ना जो एक MC4 कनेक्टर भी बना रहा है ना, और से लेकर 100 MV का ट्रांसफॉर्मर बना रहा है, एवरीथिंग इज अबाउट डिसिप्लिन टुडे. मुझे ऐसा लगता है, मैंने शुरू में भी सुबह भी मैंने बात बोली कि आज इंडिया का पर कैपिटा कंजम्पशन इज अमंग द लोएस्ट इन द कंट्री, इन द वर्ल्ड. यूएस, साउथ कोरिया 10,000 12,000 किलोवाट आवर पे बैठे हैं. आई थिंक हम 1200-1300 पे बैठे हैं. आई थिंक एवरीथिंग इज अबाउट डिसिप्लिन. हर स्टेक होल्डर, अगर हम ईपीसी रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं, एवरी स्टेक होल्डर इज डिसिप्लिन. साहब ने बात की अबाउट टाइमली एग्जीक्यूशन. आई वुड टू से दैट आज जितना भी ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टर आ रहा है इंडिया की decarbonization, when we talk about decarbonization, net zero, these are all global investors that are coming, right? And today also, when it comes to execution of projects, timeline is one aspect. What is important is, are those safety standards there? हम safety को कितना paramount करते हैं? आज I think in the morning the honorable ambassador dedicated the award to a woman. मैं आज भी पूछता हूं, where are women at workforces? अब डिसिप्लिन की अगर हम बात करें, टुडे व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट कंस्ट्रक्शन एज एन इंडस्ट्री, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एज एन इंडस्ट्री, कितने लोग साइट पे हमारे वुमेन है वहां पे? आई थिंक द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज इज नॉट कि हम 500 गीगावाट पहुंचेंगे नहीं पहुंचेंगे. पैसा है कि नहीं है? पैसा दास साहब ने बोल दिया. एनटीपीसी यहां बैठा है, नवीन जैसे दोस्त हमारे पास बैठे हैं. वी आर एग्जीक्यूटिंग ऑन ग्राउंड. आज हम 10 गीगावाट की इंस्टॉल्ड कैपेसिटी पर बैठे हैं. आई थिंक द चैलेंज व्हिच आई सेड इन द मॉर्निंग इज माइंडसेट. Do we have the mindset? ये दोबारा मौका नहीं मिलना किसी को यार. हम 2047 की बात करते हैं, मैं कहता हूं 2030 का भी मौका दोबारा नहीं मिलना. So I feel the biggest challenge today is quality of execution, is discipline, is mindset. कि आज अगर कोई EPC, आज अगर कोई डेवलपर बोलता है कि मेरे को 60 दिन में करना है, is that person going over and beyond and completing in 15 days? So I think I have in the morning also I said that it is about mindset, it is about discipline, it is not about, you're right, आज our company is released कि 10 gigawatt हुआ हमारा, हमने इतना ग्रिड बना लिया, इतना हमने सोलर EPC कर लिया. I still question that today on ground, do we have the discipline on execution? साहब ने बात की, he talked about NTPC's background, he talked about that challenge. मेरा सुबह भी मैंने ये रिक्वेस्ट की थी, मैं दोबारा ये रिक्वेस्ट कर रहा हूं. We all have to come together. ये मतलब we've already achieved. We all have to come together and वो DAS का सिर्फ D पकड़ लो. DAS का सिर्फ D पकड़ना है. अपने काम में अगर हम डिसिप्लिन हो जाएं, what we commit, Professor Solanki again quoting him again. If we understand the right energy, what Naveen said, if we understand the right energy, I think that is where we are headed. And at Hartek, I think our vision is absolutely clear. हमको लोग ना बात कर रहा था, कपिल बहुत साल बोलते हैं जी वो डेवलपर बन जाओ जी. एंड आई हैव ऑलवेज सेड दिस, आई हैव ऑलवेज कोटेड, यू डोंट आस्क अ मैकडॉनल्ड कि आप छोले भटूरे तो नहीं रख रहे ना. टुडे वर्ल्ड इज अबाउट फोकस. वेयर इज योर फोकस? And as an engineering company, our focus is execution. Our focus is quality of execution. अगर हम NTPC का काम लेते हैं या नवीन भाई काम देते हैं, our focus on the ground is to deliver. And I feel challenge, देखो ना, challenge हम ये भी बोल सकते हैं, supply chain challenge है जी, lack of manpower challenge है. These challenges are, people know about these challenges. But I am again questioning, I'm questioning each and every one Indian sitting here. Where's that mindset? Where's that mindset of excellence? And I again urge every Indian sitting out there, let's do it together, yaar. Let's do it together. कोई नहीं रोक सकता यार. और मैंने सुबह भी यही बात बोली, अपना टाइम आना नहीं, अपना टाइम आ चुका है. So I think as Indians, we all have to rise and deliver quality of execution. And I don't think जो इंडिया के हम डेवलप्ड कंट्री की बात करते हैं, हम शायद उससे पहले ही पहुंच जाएंगे 21st century. Thank you.
Absolutely right energy. when the magnitude of the energy is so good, execution excellence will definitely come through from the leaders like Simarpreet. And on the same note, I wanted to take it to Subrahmanyam because excellence at par is what has been now a topic. So asking from a Radiance standpoint of view, you have a platform which provides you money. You have a platform to deliver with ease. So what has been just heard from that, making project bankable, making things on the ground executable. Do you think that from a Radiance standpoint of view, you've been able to achieve what has been asked for you from the, your investor group and the goal that has been set for you in the future towards contributing to 500 gigawatts?
Thanks, ET, for organizing this wonderful session, and thanks, Kapil, for that question and wonderful set of comments from the dignitaries. See, I represent this company called Radiance Renewables, which is backed by a private equity called Eversource Capital, and we are a very young kid on the block. We have been in business for over 3.5 years, but within a short span of 3.5 years, we have built over 800 megawatts. I mean, successfully operating close to 600 megawatts of assets. And the unique part about this whole built out capacity and the operating capacity is we cater to those 52% energy consumers who pay the most to the utilities. I mean, we only focus on commercial and industrial customers, and that's our unique point. And when we say commercial and industrial customers, it's not that we participate in a tender every other day that we actually get our orders. Every customer, like how Simarpreet was passionately talking about, the guy who gives me a 10 kilowatt rooftop order to the guy who gives me a 200 megawatt order is important. And solutioning is what we are passionate about. And how do we take these commercial and industrial customers who are perhaps the backbone of the nation in many ways, in nation building, how do we move them from, let's say, 100% fossil fuel consuming customers to a RE100 customer? Now we provide a bouquet of solutions. Now, to answer your question, how has the journey been? Nothing short of accelerating and wonderful. 3.5 years to build out a capacity touching 1 gigawatt is not easy, and largely solar. Now we are venturing into wind as well. And we offer a bouquet of solutions, as I was saying, right, about putting a rooftop to actually giving a state transmission utility connected open access project, which could be a combination of wind and solar, like what Naveen was saying. It's the right energy that we have to supply, but not just any energy. Then I also want to bring up what Puneet was perhaps mentioning about, 9 out of 10 projects in the US are happening with tracker. And Kapil, this is something that perhaps we all in India should consciously move forward, because it's not about just faster deployment, it's also about smarter deployment. I mean, why would 9 out of 10 projects in the US have trackers, but here, when we are right above the Vindhyas, I would say any project which has a tracker would have a better LCOE than not without tracker. What we end up doing is, okay, let's go acquire a little more land, let's overload the inverters, let's try and kind of meet the energy requirement with that. But that isn't doing things better. That isn't doing things efficiently, So, I mean, the moment the module price falls a little bit, we are all tempted to actually kind of buy a little more modules and then, overload the inverter. So these are a few knacks which perhaps helped us in the early, run of the renewable energy deployment. But I think it is time for us to come out of that and then look at deploying technologies more efficiently. And we are also very excited about the slump in the, battery BESS costs and the integration possibilities that it provides. And hence, I think we firmly believe RE100 is a reality the way it is today. And like what Simarpreet was saying, it is time, it is now or never. And I also think somewhere some of these protectionist measures perhaps the government is taking in ensuring that the domestic industry gets a push should not come at the expense of India being left out in the technology race. I mean, back in SNEC in China, Longi has launched a 34% efficiency perovskite module. Now, if we want to be the best in the game, I think we need to learn how to actually beat the technology curve, not just deploy. I mean, one of the topics you said is securing supply chains. And for efficient energy, what's important is how do we actually beat, let's say China in technology deployment? I mean, can we think about that? I mean, can we do more balance sheet financing of R&D rather than actually trying to be only focused on IRRs in most of the projects? So I think it's essential, and we consciously invest into these technologies, even though it may not pay, even though at a small prototype level at Radiance, and we make a point that we do put in a certain amount of a capital to actually try and test out these technologies. So Kapil, thanks a lot for the time, and yeah, the journey to move commercial industrial customers into renewable power has been wonderful. It comes with them saving money as well as moving towards sustainability. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Subrahmanyam. So at EY, our motto is building a better world together. So that's what been brought about over here very clearly from his journey towards the acceleration towards future. But this cannot be possible without, with understanding that how you are working towards, building the overall system. Because I was looking at some of your achievements, building a 2.6 gigawatt of operational RE systems and additional 0.5 gigawatts of in progress. So how does you think that you can build a better world together with the excellence? We have talked about technologies. There are a lot of new things coming beyond, solar, wind, offshore wind. We talked about some interesting IoT solutions. So are you as a Prozeal working towards building all these solutions as an integrated package when you're delivering projects for your clients, whether it is at the utility level or at CNI that we have seen?
So Kapil, just Prozeal, we work only with C&I consumers and with the government clients. Now renewable is something that we have been doing in and out for more than a decade now. What we realized over the span of time that to give a solution to any industrial customer, especially for meeting their net zero goals, I think green energy is something that there are many players in the market which have been given. So we have been, working on solutions like, of course, power contributes to one of the major raw materials in any industry. But apart from that, if you look at most of the manufacturing industries also utilizes steam, which is again from a conventional source. So, we have worked on few technologies which can offer green steam. Currently working on, few pilot projects which maybe get, commercialized in next 6 to 9 months. Of course, when any new technology comes in, cost is always a challenge. But we are trying to optimize it, and at least by adding the carbon cost, if we are able to maybe if the customer is able to pay maybe 10 or 15% higher cost for generation of green steam, I think that makes a lot of sense. So that is one area which as a company we have been working really hard, and I think we will be able to see some success in next 6 to 9 months on that front as well, along with green power.
Thanks, Shobit. Interesting point that you brought on the internal carbon pricing. We do a lot of work on that. But, when we look at internal carbon pricing, it has to be looked from an additionality perspective. And I'm sure in COP, there will be a lot of discussion on Article 6.2 and 6.4. And one of the things that has been seen is not pure vanilla solar. Floating solar is becoming an important aspects. There are challenges, but then definitely, Deepak, what we would love to understand is how do you see the players adopting this new technologies within the context of India, and also bringing the global technologies which some of the players, private players, have mentioned about been getting adopted currently.
Yeah. Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me here. I think floating solar, when in 2018 in India overall it was like around 500 kilowatt, and now when you talk at this time it is clocking to around 900 megawatt. So marching to 1 gigawatt. We are happy to inform that at least, we have clocked half a gigawatt, 500 megawatt at least, due to the sheer hard work and, contributions what we enabled from 2018. When we started in 2018, just to give a lump sums, right, we were approached, we went to many markets, and then we come with a bag of legacies of, having a French-based company, in 32 countries, 300 plus projects, 1.9 gigawatt of projects executed. So all this baggage were stopped the moment, right, you entered into Indian market, and Indian market is completely run by one meter, which is economic. So there we started our first approach, which is again, as my friend Simarpreet was telling, the mindset. So he was, I think 5 or 6 times he was referring about mindset. Actually, right, the mindset is the fixed mindset. So from the fixed mindset, we have to get into the open mindset. That transition has enabled us to come with a kind of holistic approach in a pragmatic way. So how did, I think the first biggest issue is right now, our components, I think everything is, it's a niche technology, you have to scratch from scratch. I mean, it's to start from scratch. And the components, absolutely there is no components available in India in terms of standard specifications, in terms of make, design, fabrications, type, technology wise. So we have a dependency of importing 60% of materials from outside of Europe, outside of India, from Europe. Then there is another possibility of switching it to make in China to take it to 30% down the market. But then what we did is, again, we went back to the boardroom and we wanted to be in India. And so what, in 2 years time, right, we made it 100% make in India, 100% make in India, and zero import. And now, right, we started exporting also. So to do that, right, you need something called grit and perseverance. We'll say in English, grit and perseverance, because nothing can stop us. So that sort of attitude, and with that open mindset, right, let's do it in India, in Indianized way. So we started from scratch, as I said, right now. We went to the vendors. We started indigenous vendor development. There was no tools for them, so we invested in the tools. We invested our time and energy, and then the products. We started to get the components out in a satisfaction way. In Europe, as I said, right, we are in 5 continents. There, the quality is the #1 trademark. Here, right, we have to go with a price-sensitive market, so we have to cater the price-sensitive market. So the component level, we have to get it one. The second is, again, as a make in India. The third is, right, the volume. I mean, the transportation is the biggest killer for us. We, first ever, any company has tried out something in industry is, to set up a manufacturing plant within 5 kilometers to 10 kilometers of the project site. So we did that. We did that twice in this last 6 years span. And then that comfort of, transportation, cost-effective transportation has been delivered to the customer. So the dissemination of such benefits also given a lean engineering. I mean, this opened up the lean engineering, because the cost competitiveness is something which we are working on, along with the design suits. Because right now, this is not, as I said, it's a niche technology then. And though we are pioneer, we have a decade-old experience in expertise in this floating solar. In India, everything, right, we have to start from scratch. As I said, the design suit. So fundamentally, you cannot take the design from any rack. Every site has site conditions. You have to make a design out of it. Because unlike rooftop or ground mount, right, you have water level variations, you have underwater current, you have waves, tides, wind, gusty winds. All in all, it's been in line with anchoring and mooring systems. So the engineering know-how, lean engineering, everything has to be combined, and we ensure that the quality is maintained within the price parameters which is being driven in Indian customers. So, as I say, right, a pragmatic approach has been taken, and right now, right, as we hear, right, 120 megawatt of floating solar in Ramsal, one of the biggest in India, has been conceived, and as we move 500 megawatt, we have a lot of people in here. We have a lot of options, like Puniji was talking about green hydrogen. So the green hydrogen, right, it needs electricity, and water is a base. So we produce electricity and water is the common base for us. So it is a terrific combination. We have more than 200 to 300 dams are there. So hydro dams is possible. So daytime, right, we can use our floating solars during the dry conditions also, and at night time we can use the dams, hydro dams, water from the dams to generate electricity and connect to the grid. And also during the wet and dry conditions, they complement each other. So these sort of prospects are there. And then the captive industries which we are having here, right, we can use that industries, because a lot of industries are using hot process and they need a lot of water bodies, and then we can convert that and get that a captive consumption. So a lot of combinations can be done, and the fundamentally floating is not about floating. Floating is floating for 25 years. Assets should be protected for 25 years. You are putting money in water. So this mindset has been changed, and now right now from that fixed mindset, now we are in open mindset. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. Now, I know it's a broad panel to manage within the time, so I'll take the onus of 10 minutes, etc. And I'm changing the syllabus because what Pradip just mentioned, that he has been managing so many events. So making them all the people who are sitting to be excited and leave their phones and concentrate over here. I have some cue cards from the discussion that has just happened. And Pradip, you mentioned that if you take international money, you get some 300 basis points of benefit. And you said that 70% can be transitioned. Why can't it be all 100%?
Yeah, we could have done that before 9 months when we were not listed. It was 100% government. So you being a shareholder, you will ask some pie of it. And we believe in complete DAS principle, discipline. So discipline towards the borrower, discipline towards the investor. And you know that how our share prices have gone up in 9 months. From 32 to 310 and now at around 225, something like that. Anyway, unlike private sector, we are not owner of the company, we are only custodian of your investment. We have to ensure DAS principle and daily practice. And what Professor Solanki said and what your MC was exhibiting, that breathing exercise we do mandatorily every day in our office. 10 to 10:15 compulsory meditation time for us. That is nothing but decarbonizing the mind. First, decarbonize yourself if you want to decarbonize the world. Then perhaps again we are the only organization who is doing physical yoga 5 to 6. It is in a PPP mode. What is PPP mode? 30 minutes IREDA time, 30 minutes employee time. This employee is a private person. We consider PPP means all mega project. For us, our human capital is the mega project. So we do everyday physical yoga there. And through the process of decarbonization and renewablization, when you do physical exercise, you will renew your energy. We have improvised our capacity building in last 4 years. We are having 179 manpower. Our book size was 22,000 crore. Today we are 169 manpower. Book size is 63,000 crore. We used to do 8 to 10,000 crore disbursement annually. Last year we have done 25,000. This year we may go 35 plus with the same manpower. And we are the fastest reporting agency in the country in banking and non-banking space with respect to the financials. With lesser manpower, with more compliance, post-listing a lot of compliance. How we can do it? See, if you believe in true sense and spirit, the discipline, see, you as a developer, you want your return. If you are feeling it is challenging, yes, it is challenging, it is going to be challenging also. But that you can mitigate through DAS principle. Now, as an investor, if it is risky, it is not risky. If we have financed 1,31,000 crore in last 37 years, and our cumulative write-up is only 202 crore, that means renewable is not at all risky if you manage with DAS principle. You will hardly find any project finance company in India whose book is like this. So therefore, and why we are looking into this here? If you look at RE, what is developed, we have taken the support of global agencies. All the multilateral banks and agencies, they used to handle IREDA for development. but those are not becoming, landed cost of those funds are not becoming cheaper, rather they're becoming quite costlier. So those are only namesake concessional, no more in 2 cents concessional. And then their project appraisal time also, if you look at, they continue to carry on the legacy system of 1 year. By 1 year or solar project start delivering return in 6 months. And 1 year we are completing this ethanol project, CBG project. So by the time the Indian lender has appraised, and if they have to wait again for 1 year, project has already been commissioned. So I have been advocating with them that please realign and look at what has happened in last 10 years in India. Our corporate governance, government machinery governance, everything has changed quite a lot. Our way of working, be it private sector, be it government sector, everywhere style of working has been changed. KRA, KPI principle has been followed. In a sense, DAS principle is getting adopted everywhere, and we are going to achieve 500 gigawatt probably before 2030, provided we listen to Mr. Solanki and also passion of our co-panelists here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The new name for the acronym has been brought together, a new meaning to it altogether. So that's the carryover from the discussion today. 2 sessions that I've heard, AMG and DS DAS. With that note, sorry because we run out of the time.
मैं एक चीज कपिल ऐड करूं, एक हमने फिल्म देखी थी इसमें बोला था एंटरटेनमेंट एंटरटेनमेंट एंटरटेनमेंट. अब हमको all power sector people should say discipline, discipline and discipline.
No, so lovely. I think we run out of the time. The MC is looking very with the anger that the sun has sunset and this panel is not setting out. So with that note, apologies to other dignitaries on the dais that I couldn't ask questions because there were some very interesting questions. But unfortunately, the time is not permitting. With that note, I hand over to MC to take the things forward from here.